Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dharma Temple online class for loving kindness. Today is Wednesday. Of course, we have these classes every single Wednesday. My name is Alex. It's wonderful to be here with you today. Hello, Brian and Linda. You know what to do already. You don't even have to have me ask you. And if you are new, what I ask everyone to do is just say hi. Say hi if you're new. Say hi if you're not. Just say hi. Kind of helps me be engaged and helps you be engaged and know that we're all here kind of being with and supporting each other. And that's really, really helpful. We're coming to an end of, hi, Jean. We're coming to an end of this kind of lockdown. And, you all have probably gotten Jeff's email by now. So if you didn't, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and fill you in really quickly. So we want to be really careful. We know that everything is opening up in 6 days. So the 15th, next Tuesday, everything will kind of be open. There will be some restrictions. You can go to the county website and look at what those restrictions are. Mostly they're for, really large gatherings like 500 or 1,000 or more or something like that. Nothing that would affect the Dharma Bum Temple. We don't get anything. We can't even fit anything near that amount. So even though everything is opening up on the 15th, that can be really kind of a little bit scary. Not everybody is vaccinated yet. We're not even at this kind of herd immunity, which we probably won't get to just because we won't. But our case rate is going down. What we're seeing right now is the vast majority of these new cases are from unvaccinated people. So I would ask that you be vaccinated. We're not going to require that. It won't be anything like that. I don't believe, but just for the benefit of everybody, if you can get vaccinated, we probably would ask that you do, because we don't want to cause harm to anybody, and that's the way not to do that. So, hi Lisa, good to see you as always. And so anyway, that's kind of what we're doing, and we think that we're going to be open in about maybe 3 to 5 weeks. We're looking the first part of July for this. I can't wait. I really look forward to this. And it's something that, we've been working towards for 14 months now, sorry. March, April, March, April, May, June, 15 months. It'll be 15 and probably into 16 months by the time we actually all get together again. So, we're getting there. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there, and it's something that it's going to be a really exciting thing, and I can't wait to see, because I forget what everybody looks like. I honestly don't remember a whole lot. I remember what my good friends look like, but if you've come to the temple, and I know what I remember a couple of people, but I kind of forgot. I don't remember. It's been so long. All right. So anyway, when that day happens, come and say hello. Let me know what your name is, and so I can just associate that name to a face. All right. So again, wonderful to be here. We're just going to do our loving kindness meditation. Probably I can tell you a short story. So Brian Linda asks, do you know if the DBT will continue YouTube meetings when they reopen? Well, you know what? What we did before everything happened was, for Jeff's classes anyway, the Saturday and the Tuesday, they did the YouTube, and so they posted those classes to our website. So when we come back, will the other ones, like the loving kindness class, Travis's class on Thursday, will those classes, be on YouTube as well? That's a really good question, guys. I don't really know. We have something that we haven't talked about. We probably could do it. I don't have any problem doing that. But yeah, that's a good question. I don't think anything has been really super decided yet. I mean, as a class facilitator, I mean, I certainly wouldn't mind. It wouldn't offend me. I mean, I've been doing it online this long, to continue to do it at the temple, just it's not a big deal. Okay. How's everybody feeling? Hopefully you're all doing well. We're going to have our meditation here in just a minute. And, afterwards, I do have a short story that I'm going to tell. And it's really interesting. And it's really interesting in a lot of ways, because, written to, and I look for this all the time in these Buddhist stories, because look, these stories, when they were written down by men. And so they have a man's perspective. And so every time I kind of read this and I see misogyny in this, I don't really get upset anymore, but I just, that's misogynistic. And either I say, I'm not going to include that part, or I will include that part, but say, this is stupid. Because it is, I was reading The Life of the Buddha book. It's a light blue book. It's by Bhikkhu Nanamoli, and it's one of my favorite books. I love this book so much. And, what this book tries to do is it tries to put the Buddha's life in chronological order. The suttas aren't written that way. They're categorized in a completely different way by subject and number and topic and those types of things. It is not chronological by any stretch. So what this book tries to do, and it does a pretty good job. I mean, there's some things we kind of know when they happened during the Buddha's lifetime, but we don't really know a lot. So these major things that happen, we don't know when they happen. So they just kind of guess, based on a lot of the information that we have, this is about the time we think would be good that this happened. And it's really, really helpful. It's really helpful. But I was reading part of this, and it was the Buddha's the final days. And so after the Buddha dies, right? After the Buddha dies, all these arhants, these enlightened monks, 500 of them, kind of get together. Right? They get together and they say, okay, well, what are the rules? So there's one guy, Upali, who recites all of the rules and all of the reasons for the rules, like all these rules that the monks and the nuns have. And then, Ananda, was the Buddha's attendant for the last 25 years of his life, he's not an arhat yet, right? He, when the Buddha died, he was just a stream enterer, and that's a whole other story about why he wasn't fully enlightened yet, but it was a really good reason. And he wasn't, and his friend said, look, you can't come to this meeting unless you're fully enlightened, so you better get on it, right? Get on it, just go and get on it and just do what you can do, right? But it was really, really hard for Ananda because he was so beloved by the community, is that they would all flock to him after the Buddha died and say, hey, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? I'm so sad. What can you offer? And Ananda was incredibly kind, and so he was very patient, and he spent all this time with him. But it was the night before this big council, the first Buddhist council, was going to happen, not enlightened yet, not fully enlightened. And so he spent all night sitting in meditation as mindfully as he could. And then he was tired. It was early the next morning, he was super tired, and he decided to lie down and take a nap. And, the story goes that, before, he went to lie down on his right side, and just before his head hit the pillow, and before his feet lifted up a little bit, he became enlightened, which is really, really wonderful. And so because Ananda had this incredible memory, he had an incredible memory, and he could remember all of the Buddhist teachings, like where it happened, what was the occasion, what was the teaching, what was the meaning of the teaching, all of these thousands of teachings. He knew all of them. Such was his memory. And so something weird that happened during this first Buddhist council is that all of these people kind of ganged up on him. They said, Ananda, all these things happened, between you and the Buddha, and we think that they're an offense. And so they list all of these things that they think are an offense. And Ananda says, well, this was the occasion of this thing, and this is what was going on in my mind at the time. I was not fully enlightened then, and I don't think that it's an offense, but if you think it's an offense, then I will admit to the offense, right? So that was his way of just saying, okay, I may not agree, but I will admit to it since you think so, that's fine. And so, they went over this point and this point and this point and this point as things that are being an offense, and each time Ananda had the same response. I don't think that it was, but if you think that it was, so there's amity in the sangha, I will admit to an offense. And the last one was like, they said, oh, you let women into the sangha, and that's an offense. And so Ananda just does the same thing, And so I'm reading this in this book, and I don't know why. I've read this before. I've read this book several times before. I was just reading it again, and I came by this, and I'm like, no. Someone clearly added this later because the Buddha allowed it. And if the Buddha allowed it, how can it be an offense? It doesn't make any sense. They were just mad. Actually, the people who wrote the stories probably hundreds of years later were mad. Anyway, that's kind of an aside. But so anyway, the way that I've trained myself is that, when I read all these different types of things, I kind of read it with a kind of a different lens than what I used to before, in that I read it with a much more critical lens. And I see that it's, humans who actually, the patriarchy who wrote this story. So yeah, I guess it's natural that they would put these things in here, but 2,500 years later, we can see that, yeah, this probably didn't happen, right? And so this probably didn't happen, right? And there's a big part of this Mallika story that's I don't even include. Then if you remind me, I'll tell you what it is. But I don't even include it. It's at the end, and it's stupid, and it makes no sense. All right. Long story. All right, guys. Let's get in our seated position. Let's do our meditation on loving kindness. Let's begin. And just allow your eyes to close. Making sure that you have that seated position that's nice and comfortable and sustainable for you. In the first few minutes of this meditation, we're just going to get connected with the breath. Focusing your breath at the base of the nostrils, feeling the air go in and out as you breathe. And when the breath enters the body, if there's a part of the body that is tense or there's discomfort there, you can go ahead and direct the energy of the breath into that part of the body, maybe loosening it a little bit. So just for the next few moments before we get our formal meditation on loving kindness, just rest as gently as you can in the sensations of the breath. Now, to begin our formal meditation on loving kindness, we're going to do this practice for our benefactor or benefactors. They've been so wonderful and helpful to us. A benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love and great kindness. And we're just going to radiate loving kindness to this person. We're going to picture them in our mind's eye and just radiate loving kindness to them. And however you understand that word. And we'll do this for the next few moments. Now, shifting our focus just a little, we'll now imagine our benefactor or benefactors doing this practice for us. The only thing that you have to do is just receive all of this. And it might be helpful to put your hand over your heart, feeling and listening for any areas of tension as you imagine your benefactor wishing loving kindness for you. you already have the experience of their love and kindness for you. That's why they're your benefactor. And again, you can picture them in your mind's eye just radiating loving kindness to you and maybe smiling when they do so. And just accept all of that loving kindness into your own heart as much as you can. And we'll do this for the next few moments. And now, we can now just do this practice for ourselves, and wishing loving kindness for ourselves, probably the most important part of this practice, especially for us. And just calling to mind our own wish to be happy, our own wish to be healthy and free from danger, healthy, all of those things, to be at peace and at ease. You can either just kind of wish loving kindness for yourself, like radiate loving kindness into your own heart. You can repeat phrases like, may I be happy, May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. So repeat one or more of those phrases, or a phrase of your own choosing, so long as it has a loving and a kind intention behind it. Really beginning to really break down those barriers. So we'll do this for the next few moments. And finally, we can explore this limitless quality of the heart by doing this practice of loving kindness for all beings in all directions. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be joyful and at ease. May all beings be happy. And just radiate out as far as you can go, knowing that indeed your heart does have this limitless quality to it. So just open your eyes when you're ready. Let's just take the next couple of moments out in silence as we stretch our arms and stretch our legs, keeping that mindfulness of loving kindness about us. And then in about 45 seconds, we'll go ahead and get started for tonight. Sorry. Okay. Whew. All right, you guys. That was good for me. And so, as we do at every class here, if there's anything that you would like to share, I would love to kind of talk about it, about, what your experience of meditation was like. Excuse me as I kind of move this a little bit further back. There we go. And maybe do that. That's better. Anything about your experience of meditation? Any questions about anything? Buddhism, or I don't know, whatever you want to ask. It's always okay. I always like to give the option to do that. I for one am like really looking forward to coming back to the temple. It'll happen. It's gonna happen really soon, so it'll be good. A little nervous about what everything's going to look like come Tuesday. Kind of nervous / excited kind of thing, But one of the things I really liked to do beforehand was, go to this coffee shop that's kind of in town near me, and there's like this big long kind of table that people sit at and do their thing, do their work, do their school work, and thing like that. And the music is kind of low but good, and there's just a lot of people around. I like. None of them I have to talk. None of them, we're not really talking to each other, but they're around, and that's really good. So that'll be kind of fun and kind of interesting to experience again. That's for sure. So do we have anything? Any questions? Anything? Anything you want to tell me before story time? I'll give it another minute. Wow, really nothing. All right, that's okay. As much as I'm actually really comfortable in silence, it's not always the best thing, when you're doing an online class here, right? So that's all right. So I don't know how I even came across. I know how I came across the story, but I don't know why I even read it. In the book that's called Great Disciples of the Buddha, there is a whole chapter and these stories are really long. They're like long stories, like maybe 40, 50 pages long, each one. Like, so the story of Ananda, really long, Sariputra, Moggallana, Anuruddha, Mahakassapa, Mahakachana, all the great disciples of the Buddha, all those guys, they all had like rich lives, outside of their, interactions with the Buddha, that would normally, that's the only thing we hear about them. But they all had very rich lives of their own, in the service of Buddhism and of the Buddha. And there's this whole chapter of female disciples of the Buddha. And this is one of them. And this is the story of Mallika. And Mallika was the daughter of the head of the Guild of Garland Makers in the kingdom where King Pasenadi was the king Kosala. And, she was just a really happy girl. And one day she was on her way to the flower gardens, and she had these 3 kind of helpings of fermented rice, which was a really kind of popular thing back then. And so she's on her way, and she's almost to the gate and of the flower gardens. And, along the road walks this man who she had never seen before, who is with a whole bunch of other people, and they're just all walking so mindfully. And this man, she looks at him, and he's so beautiful and walking so mindfully, and she's just never seen anybody like this before. And it was the Buddha. Didn't know who he was, and she just immediately just prostrated at his feet and gave him her 3 helpings of fermented rice. Didn't even know who he was. And she gave him the rice, and she just went on her way, just happy as can be, over to the flower gardens, And after she left, the Buddha smiled. And the Buddha smiling is a really big deal, because the Buddha doesn't smile unless there's a really good reason. And Ananda saw this, and he knew that there must be a really good reason. And Ananda goes, "Why are you smiling?" And he goes, "Because before the day is through, she will be the queen of Kosala." And Ananda's thinking to himself, what? How is that even possible? She's of a much lower caste than the king. There's no way that she can become a queen to a higher caste, obviously higher caste king. There's no way. But he knows the Buddha doesn't lie. So he's just like really kind of a little bit perplexed and very curious at this point. And so they just kind of go on their way. And so the king was fighting a battle, King Pasenadi, and he lost. He lost this battle, and he comes, limping back into the kingdom through the gates. And, he's, distraught and kind of downtrodden because he lost his battle. And he hears this singing coming from the flower garden, and it's Mallika. And he goes, "Oh, what is this beautiful singing? Oh, this is just putting me in a much better mood. I'm in such a terrible mood. I lost my battle today." So he goes to the flower garden, and he was so, she was just so happy because she gave away all of her food to this wonderful man who she didn't even know who he was. And he asked her if she was married. And she says, "No, sire, I'm not married." And so they spent some time together. He put his hand in her lap, and she comforted him, because he just lost a battle, and they spent some time together. And a little while later, he put her on horseback and behind him, and he went to her parents' house and took her to her parents' house. And he actually married her that very same day. And she became the queen. Queen Mallika. He was just so enamored with her, everything about her. And she was, she found out who this man was, and so she became an admirer and a disciple, a lay disciple of the Buddha. And she had this wonderful ebony hall built for the Sangha in the kingdom for the purposes of discussions and everything else, teachings, and everything else that they might want to do. And one of the things that was really interesting about Mallika was that she was not jealous at all. She was just not a jealous woman, because it was really common for these kings to have multiple wives, and he actually took another wife. And Mallika, welcomed her with open arms, like, please come here, let me show you the deal, and let me show you around, and welcome to our family, and it's so nice to have you, and please, and which was really, really quite wonderful, because you don't often see that. And the big thing about the court intrigue about having multiple wives is whoever has the first son is a really big deal, because that's going to be the heir to the kingdom. And she had a daughter, and the other wife had a son, and she still wasn't jealous. She was just really happy for her, and which was, again, really, really unusual. But, that's just the kind of person that she was, and, one of the things that she really wanted to do was she wanted to kind of convert the king to be a follower of the Buddha. He respected the Buddha very much. He wasn't necessarily a follower, but he respected the Buddha very much. And there was this one time where the king had these horrible dreams. So horrible dreams. And he goes to the local Brahmins, and he tells the Brahmin priests about his dreams. And the Brahmins come back, and they're I'll be honest, they're a bit shady, right? So he comes back, they come back, tell the king, this is awful. This is awful. What you need to do is you need to bring all these animals, and we have to sacrifice all these animals, and we have to even sacrifice a few humans as well. That's the only way to take this curse away from you, is to do all these sacrifices. And it's going to cost you bank, right? Because these Brahmins didn't do these rituals for free. It was going to cost the king a hell of a lot of money, right? And so Mallika goes to him and said, you know what? I think you need to go to the Buddha just to get kind of like a second opinion, because this is a really big undertaking to do all of these sacrifices. And this doesn't really sound right to me. And so he goes to the Buddha, and he tells the Buddha everything that he told the Brahmin priests. And he says, what's going to happen to me? And the Buddha goes, nothing. Nothing's going to happen to you. The reason that you're having these dreams is you're seeing the future. You're imagining the future and the moral laxity that's going to happen in the future from these kings being, I would say the kind of degradation of society in the future because of the kings having moral laxity. So these will go away. Don't you worry. But nothing's going to happen to you because of this. So he became a lay follower because these big nightmares went away and everything was fine. And, one of the things that Mallika was also able to do, which was a big deal, was to get one of the monks, one of the Buddha's monks, to come to the palace to give the women of the palace instruction in the Buddhist teaching. And it was Ananda actually who came. Because Ananda was super harmless. He's not going to be, do anything wrong or anything like that. Ananda was probably the perfect person to give these teachings. And, Mallika learned these teachings with great ease. And the second wife had a lot of problems with the teachings, just so many problems. She couldn't quite grasp it, right? Because she was a Brahmin woman, right? That was just not her spiritual language. And so she had a really hard time kind of assimilating this, where Mallika was like, yes, give it to me more, right? So Another thing, one of the things that they did, she was really, really wise. And, one of the things that they did, she saw these new monks, these new Buddhist monks um, in the stream. They were supposed to be bathing, but they were splashing about and kind of being kind of loud. And she didn't know what to say. Because if she went up to them, she would be kind of scolding them, and she didn't want to do that. She wanted to kind of them to save face, So she actually went to the Buddha, and she kind of mentioned, "Oh, by the way, I was at this place, and there was these monks there." And the Buddha goes, "Oh, there was these monks here. Well, tell me about this." And she goes, "Oh, there was just these monks there. That's all." And so when these monks came back to the Buddha goes, "Oh, I understand that you were at the river. Can you tell me about that?" And the monks kind of, "Oh, we were at the river. Yeah." And the monk said, "Yeah, we were splashing about and everything like that." And the Buddha kind of admonished them very kindly and said, "Don't do this again." Right? Because they're just supposed to be bathing and not doing anything crazy like that, right? And so, another kind of interesting thing about their marriage is that they had troubles like anybody else. They argued and they had fights and things like that, and they always went to the Buddha for kind of this kind of reconciliation, and they always reconciled. They loved each other. They loved each other dearly. But she eventually passed away, and they had a really happy life. And she acquired all this wonderful merit, and it was all good, but she wasn't completely good. So the Buddha understood that after she died, that she would have to spend 6 days in a hell realm before she could ascend to the heavenly realms, right? And wait to be born again. Wait for her rebirth, I should say. And so the king was distraught, just so distraught. And so every day after her death, he would come and ask her, what is her destination? What has happened to her? And the Buddha would just spend all day teaching him the Dharma. Right? So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, 5, 6. And on the 7th day, when the king goes, "Please tell me what is the final destination of my beautiful queen," he says, "Oh, well, she ascended to one of the heavenly realms." Right? And the Tushita heaven. So it's kind of like way up there. Still impermanent, but one of the heavenly realms. So that is the story of Mallika, the flower girl queen. So short story. I like these short stories. It was just so cute when I read it, and I think that's kind of why I wanted to tell it. So I will open this up for questions. We just have a few minutes left, so if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them for you. Thank you. Thank you. I like it too. Yay. I have a million of them. All right. Well, it's looking like that's all we have. It's about time to go. So let's join our palms together at our hearts. And may the benefits of this meditation, this discussion, this story be received by all beings in all directions. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be joyful and at ease. May all beings be happy. And may all beings lived and seen for the beautiful, radiant beings that they are, that you are. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you next time. The next time you'll see me, the next time we meet, we'll be all better, I guess, right? All right. Bye now.